Hi, everyone. Welcome to an episode of Carolyn Talks, your chance podcast, where I, your host, film culture critic and journalist Carolyn Hines, speak to film creators and creators around the world about their work in the industry and what inspires them. And today, I'm not joined by a filmmaker, but I am joined by someone who does work in the film industry, Maddy Myer. She's actually a film publicist that I've been in contact with for a while. I was looking back through my emails, Maddy, and we've actually been in contact for a couple of years.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, usually for like TIFF stuff actually, because I was looking back through my emails. I'm like, oh, I got like emails and stuff from you for like TIFF and stuff. So it was just like, haha. But we will be talking a little bit about Maddy's work as a publicist, but our main discussion today will be about Maddy's new podcast called Maddy Mania. And I think this is my first time that I'm ever going to be able to interview another podcaster in the film industry and talking about film pop culture and all that kind of stuff. Like you guys know, I did So Here's What Happened before, which I hosted with my friend Anisha Campbell. That was a Blurry Girl podcast, and I have my new podcast, What's Up with Anime, that I hosted with my friend Nat. But we co-host. This is my first time actually doing an actual interview with another podcaster. So, but first of all, thank you for joining me today, Maddy.
Thanks for having me. Super excited.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited to talk to you about this. Look, you got your background with your your thing and everything. I like my design for my podcast is very simple. It's literally just my Carolyn talks. It's nothing as fancy as that. Though I will say probably the picture of my beach is technically, I guess, my logo.
Yeah.
But as I said, Maddy, talk to me a bit about your work in becoming a publicist, because your work as a publicist is related to your podcast work, because you're being able to get that insight as someone in the film industry, but from a completely different angle. Talk to me a bit about how you became a film publicist.
Yeah, for sure. I studied public relations in undergrad and then moved out to LA to pursue my grad degree in public relations and advertising, and that was at USC, and they had a specific like sports and entertainment focus you could take, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. I knew for the longest time I wanted to work in like the entertainment space for PR, and at the same time that I was starting grad school, it was like when I started at an agency that supported like TV and film folks, and as well as like a little bit of Broadway theater folks. And I started with them as a publicity assistant and then made my way up to a coordinator. And now I'm a full account manager. And that's been about 4 years now, which time really does fly. And I'm just like very grateful for all the different experiences and all the different creatives we've gotten to work with over the years.
Now, explain to me what made you even decide that to pursue public relations as a career. Like for some people, like they'd be like, I've always wondered what makes someone say, no, I want to be public relations. Why? Why do you want to be a public relations officer? I understand being a doctor, an accountant, even a film critic, but why?
Yeah. So, I always knew I had like the gift of gab, as some people say. Like I like to talk, and I feel like I maintain relationships really well and am easily like making friends and making new connections. So that was always like in the back of my head going into it. But I originally wanted to do journalism instead of PR, and I was writing a sports column at the time at my undergrad, and I was thinking about changing my major to journalism because I was a nursing major at the time, believe it or not. And I was debating between journalism and PR and thought like I'll still get to write with PR for sure, but I'll also get to do like super cool events and social media content, like all this stuff that encapsulated in PR is like more than just writing. And at the same time, like I am a Gemini and I do not like a boring day. I like my days to be like not sporadic, but like dynamic, ever changing, just like the PR media landscape is. And so it felt like the perfect fit, like I was meant to be in that field.
Yeah. So I love this. I always say that this is one of my first questions that I always ask, because I'm always so interested in what leads people to down the path that they lead on to the point I'm actually talking to them. And sometimes there's a lot of I find like some similarities that I might have with people, and it's like it might be the most mundane similarity. And like I would say with you and I, not only now hosting podcasts, but also working in the film industry from a kind of like public relations perspective, when you kind of think about film criticism, is kind of the same way. But the
Mhm.
other thing was, I at one point in time was actually thinking about studying nursing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I found out pretty quickly I didn't like blood, and that was like when I was like, well, I'm not gonna make it as a nurse if I can't handle blood.
Yeah, yeah. For me, it's not blood; it's vomit.
Ah,
I can
that's
handle.
not
I
true.
can handle. I can handle blood. I've seen like severed arms, all that kind of stuff. But it's the puke. I'm like, and then I was sick for a while, and I thought about it. I'm like, you know, I can't handle puke. And I was thinking about specializing in pediatrics because I
Uh-huh.
used to work with kids. I worked with kids like for many years as a private nanny and working at daycare centers and at a
Hmm.
public school here in Canada. But I can handle everything but puke. And so I transitioned and I changed to doing paralegal studies, got my diploma, but I'm here doing film criticism instead. So like that's how life goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so but explain for people a little bit what an account manager is at a public relations firm.
Yeah, so as an account manager, you are in charge of multiple client accounts. You know, most of the time, most agencies have you on like at least five. It can be more or less, but that's around like the ballpark. And
Oh, that's my dog.
you're fine.
She popped
Um,
back out.
I'm like checking on mine now. But you're just managing like a bunch of different clients and moving parts. And if you're at an agency that's not only like entertainment focused or whatever it is, then you could definitely have clients from like different sectors
Mm.
of the sphere. Like you could have an entertainment client, you could have a nonprofit client, you could have government client, whatever it is. But at my agency specifically, like all of our clients are in the film, TV, or Broadway industry, and they usually come on because they are promoting a new project that they're working on. And so, as an account manager, we're forming a strategy for their press plan to help them promote this project. We're also making sure we're coordinated with the studios of the film or TV show to make sure that like our plans align and that everything is in order and we're not like crossing any lines on their side. And so like a typical press campaign is, a mix of traditional media, these like written articles, and then as well as like podcasts and nowadays social media as well, like that's way more prevalent and popular than the traditional articles. And a lot of press campaigns also include like events, whether it's like a screening for the project or just like a networking mixer or whatever it is. And there's awards involved as well in certain campaigns, and different events like that. So yeah, it's very dynamic and super cool to like get to work with so many different people and surround myself around so many different projects.
Yeah, and I want you to do something. I do want you to talk a little bit about. I'm not going to ask you to spill any kind of secrets. We can probably do that off camera. But for a lot of people, usually when they think of film, public relations in Hollywood and the film industry, people always think mostly like directors and actors. But for you, you also handle people who are like the cinematographers, the editors, the composers. You talk about the people that are considered below the line, the marquee line,
Right.
anyway. Just talk a bit about what might be different in doing PR for someone who's like a composer, an editor, cinematographer versus, like, say, a filmmaker, like a director or an actress. Is there like a difference in how like the marketing and the PR is handled?
Yeah, I would say you have to put in a little bit more work whenever it's not like the A-list marquee folks like you mentioned, because everybody wants to talk to the actors, everybody wants to talk to the directors, but not everybody wants to talk to the other people involved with the project. So it's making sure you're developing like really nice and interesting angles so that people are interested in covering them, even though they may not typically always cover those kinds of crafts, and thinking like outside of the box on how you can also create like your own content. Like I said with social media before, so like a composer doing like a behind the scenes of a studio session or something is like a really cool way to kind of show off their work and show just like how excited they are to have worked on the project aside from just doing like press interviews.
And how do you find someone like me to reach out to for like interviews?
Yeah, research, that's like a big part of the job is researching people online for like past interviews and seeing like what they're interested in, and then hopefully finding a contact for them. A lot of times there's like because of other friends you have in the industry, they may like suggest people to you that you should reach out to that'd be a good fit for a client. I'm in a couple like Facebook and Reddit groups that are like PR and advertising focused, so there's always like suggestions in there. It's like a mix of things, and like I think also because I have the background of like some journalism as well, I have some friends that are like still journalists right now that I can always kind of rely on in case I'm in a pinch.
Yeah, no, that's great. And now we're going to transition into talking about Maddy Mania. So because the reason I asked you those questions to kind of set up is because like that is a part of running a podcast, you know, doing research, having connections to publicists, having connections
Mhm.
to filmmakers, or and even if like for me, for like there's Carolyn Talks where I do all of this with PR publicists like you, but sometimes I might have to reach out directly to a filmmaker or composer myself. Sometimes I'll shoot my shot on social media and it works sometimes it doesn't. That's okay. But like it's all, a lot of it is very much like research and like
Mhm.
taking initiative to reach out to people. And for your podcast, you're kind of change, you kind of switch gears where you kind of move from traditional Hollywood films where you're covering pop culture, so like anime and also like things on like Broadway and all of these different other forms of entertainment. Tell me why you decided to focus Maddy Mania on that rather than just strictly film.
Yeah, I think because this is like something I'm building on my own, it's like my own IP. I wanted it to be authentic to me and like what I love and like. And I do love film and TV, that's definitely part of it, but I also have so many other things I love, like you mentioned Broadway. I'm really big into sports, so I really love like basketball, wrestling, baseball, video games even. So I wanted to be able to like have a space where I could talk about like all my different pop culture interests, not just film and TV.
Mm. And what is the format of your shows going to be like? Because mine is like for Carolyn Talks again, I'm interviewing people, I'm talking with the people, and then whereas for like, so here's what happened, and then also what's up with anime, I have a co-host, you know, so it's just us doing it back and forth. What's your format going to be?
Yeah, so mine's gonna be like a two-part per episode. First part is just gonna be me yapping about the topic of the day, and like any hot takes I have, any like reason why it's like popping off at the moment or like why I was into it. So that's like part one. And then part two will be like an interview section where I bring in experts from the world of said topic. So like the wrestling episode, I have an interview with the wrestler. So it's like a way to kind of get like their knowledge and expertise in that realm as well.
Mm. Yeah. So I don't know if you were maybe thinking, if you were maybe, I don't know if anyone else that you've done interviews asked you this. I'm going to ask you because of my personal experience again, doing podcasting and all that kind of stuff. How are you going to balance doing the podcast and your regular work as a peer agent? Because people think doing a podcast is just sitting and recording. It is not that.
No, no, no. I've learned
There's
very
so much
quickly.
work going into again doing the for like again Carolyn Talks, all of the correspondence with publicists, with filmmakers, watching films. People think again watching films is sit and watch films. I think I'm not the way that I do it because I'm so analytical about the process. Sometimes I'll watch the film that I'm doing a specific interview for, but if I can, I'll watch other films by the other filmmakers, which is a lot of hours of doing that kind of like engagement with the art. But then also I also do my own post production myself. You know, I do the producing, I do the editing, I do the recording, all of that. Are you doing all of the post production work for Maddy Myer, Maddy Mania yourself?
Yeah, I am. And you're right. The balancing act is definitely tricky. I'm not gonna lie. This week, because it's like almost launch week and I have the launch event, I've
Mm.
been like pulling almost all-nighters every night, like 4:30 a.m., just because I want everything to go smoothly, both for the actual event and just for like the rollout of the podcast. So, yeah, time management for sure is needed, both podcast and as a publicist.
Yeah, doing the podcast work is like my sister. Sometimes she'll tell me, you know, you should do like because I also have another podcast which has is in temporary permanent hiatus called Dramas with Carrie, which was a Asian drama focused podcast, right? And that one, I did that one for about a year and a half. And the reason I stopped doing that one for a year and a half is because I had burnout, literally. Because for that, I am doing my work for Carolyn Talks, doing festival coverage, doing So Here's What Happened. And then I was also doing Dramas with Carrie. And for that one, again, watching Asian dramas, watching so many Asian dramas, taking my notes, doing all of the editing for that as well. And for that, the format was different because I was like, I want pictures, gifs, reels, and it was so much just putting in, like, figuring out where stuff to I'm like, no. And after a year and a half, I was literally like, I can't do this. And I had to make a choice. I say, you have to sacrifice something, Karen. What's it going to be? And unfortunately, I sacrificed my Dare Dramas with Carrie, right? And I was even doing live tweets for that too. And I'm like, I'm on Twitter too darn much already. I should not be doing all these live tweets. And because I also do another live tweet every Saturday night called So Here's Saturday Night Sci-Fi, which I've been doing as a co-host for like the last 8 years. This year is going to be 8 years doing it with my friend. And I'm like, I'm doing this live tweet, doing that live tweet, doing technically 3. And so for you, like, are you, like you said, you have to do time management, but you already thought about like your limit, like how many interviews you're going to do for say like a month, how like you're going to be like, I really want to do this thing, but then you have to realize I just can't. Like, have you reached that point already? How many episodes have you already recorded?
We did 4 already, so already have like those locked and loaded. But I mean, the goal is to do an interview on every episode, so every week, but clearly like I'm not going to do the interview in the same episode in the same week as I'm editing that episode. Ideally it'd be like the week before, and I just kind of wanted to front load these couple of episodes early on.
Yeah, because I will just tell you now, brace yourself. because the thing is like, you get so excited. You're like, oh, I'm doing this very new thing. So my caution to you would be pace yourself, pace yourself. Because I think that's also the way their consistency is key, but pacing yourself is very important too. Because again, that's so much time sitting in front of a computer as well. And that's like, you have to consider your health, your physical health, your mental health, and your eye health. Sitting in front of a computer screen, I've had like issues, like my eyes get so tired because I'm always watching TV, or I'm always on my phone, or I'm always recording, doing these kind of things. But for you, what has been in realizing for you, what was something you weren't expecting when you have to, or when you're now arranging interviews for yourself versus arranging interviews for someone else? What's that like for you?
Oh, what's the difference? Yeah, I mean, when I'm arranging interviews for somebody else, I'm telling their story, giving like highlights on why them and the project they worked on are newsworthy, and like I said before about like finding the good angles. So that's like when I'm pitching for somebody else, and that's a whole different kind of research bucket because the people I'm reaching out to are like journalists, content creators, podcasters, etc. And then for my own, it's like I have to sell myself and my show and like my knowledge as a host of a podcast. And I'm not reaching out to journalists and content creators, really. I mean, I reach out to you to like do this, but I mean, for the actual guests on the podcast, these are like people that are in the world that would usually like potentially even be my clients as a publicist. So it's like kind of switching sides of the reach out. But I mean, I have experience, so it's pretty easy to kind of switch hats.
I know you have to go. So my last question for you is just tell me a bit about the 4 interviews that you've already recorded. Like, not that you're going to give spoilers or anything, but like you mentioned, one is about pro wrestling. What are like the other 3 about, and like how have those interviews been like for you?
Yeah, so starting off with the pro wrestling episode where I get to chat with a wrestler well known from his WWE and TNA tenure. And then I have an episode with a music producer who's worked in the K-pop world for a K-pop episode specifically for my favorite boy group, NCT.
Wait, is her name Ashley by any chance?
No, it's a guy.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because the reason I asked is because my friend actually that does that, she would say, oh, someone reached out to me for a podcast. So like the
Oh,
chance
that's
of
funny.
being the same person would have been amazing.
That would have been like crazy, full circle for sure. But no, it's a guy. Um, and then the like last two, they're both Teen Wolf episodes, but one is chatting with the composer for the show, and then the other is chatting with the writer for the show. So that was like one of my favorite shows growing up. So I wanted that to be like an episode early on, and I wanted to make sure I might have said this before, sorry, but I wanted to make sure that I hit like three buckets in my like initial launch week, which is the sports, which is wrestling, the music side, which is the K-pop one, and then like TV and film with Teen Wolf. So
Mm.
yeah, it was like the perfect first week lineup.
Okay, so like we can talk about K-pop and also Teen Wolf because my sister loved. I used to watch it, but my sister loved that show. I kid you not, because legit, I was watching The Secret Agent just now, and because I'm writing a
Uh-huh.
review for it, and one of the actresses' side profile looks just like the guy, Tyler, who played the lead character. And my
Uh-huh.
sister's like, "Is that the guy from Teen Wolf?" And I so like kind of like legit, the side profile looks just like him. But the only thing we
That's
were like, his face isn't as
funny.
crooked. Um, and K-pop. Oh my gosh. Like we could do a whole episode about K-pop because I have such complicated feelings about K-pop. Like NCT was not my favorite group. Like the only song, I'm not gonna lie, the one of the few songs from NCT that I really like is Favorite. I just that song to me just makes
Favorite is actually, dude, favorite is my favorite song of theirs, like of all time.
that song just I just my brain loves that song, just like the composition for the whistle itself. Because they have
Mhm.
another song that I don't like, but
I
there's
think
a
it's
song they have that
Sticker.
makes my brain hurt. But what's it one?
I think it's Sticker, maybe.
It's no, it's not Sticker. It's another one that became very popular after
Two Baddies.
is it Sticker? It might be Sticker. Because there was one that came out and this song irks my head. I'm just like this song makes my head itch. But in a bad way. But I love Favorite. Like I just like
Taste.
but like NCT was not my favorite group. My favorite group was like Shiny, Monster
Oh,
X,
yeah.
second gen. I'm a second gen girl all the way around. But the way that K-pop has changed, like complicated feelings. But is there anything you want to say as we wrap up?
Just super, thank you so much, Carolyn. I really enjoyed this chat, and we'll definitely talk later separately about these common interests, but just super excited for everybody to check out the pod. This is truly like a passion project, so I hope you guys tune in and like it and see yourself and me chatting about like all these passions because yeah, I mean, it's cool to have something that you're like so invested and interested in.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy for you and proud for you because you're going on this whole brand new adventure. And it's great to have another I think for me, someone else in the film industry looking at film from a different perspective and like, taking that leap because it's not necessarily an easy choice because you have to figure out like, can I do this with the work that I'm already doing? And again, it's not paid. Well, for me anyway, it's not paid. Like you're doing this literally for the love of the game and it truly is the love of the
Yeah.
passion for it, right? Because it can take like years to build to a point where you can monetize it or get sponsorship. I have not gotten there yet. So like congratulations for you for taking that leap. And
Thank
I'm looking forward to see how things go for you. And yeah, we definitely have to maybe either I come on you, either I come on Maddy. I keep saying Maddy Myer. Either I come on Maddy Mania or you come on What's Up with Anime and we talk about these things because like anime is tied to K-pop. But
you.
yeah,
Yeah. Cool. Well, again, thank you so much. Really enjoyed this and we'll talk soon.
for sure. Thank you.
Bye.